William Hartford stood in the gleaming entrance of Hartford Industries, his polished shoes clicking against the floor that reflected the morning sun. At 63, he had built an empire from nothing. The building around him represented 40 years of 12-hour days, missed family dinners and choices that had left him wealthy beyond measure, and utterly alone. The morning was quiet, peaceful. It was heading toward the elevator when he noticed the boy. Ismael, perhaps 9 or 10 years old. The child stood near the grand doorway, holding a battered leather briefcase that looked older than he was. His clothes were worn but clean, carefully mended at the elbows and knees. There was something about the way he stood there, shoulders straight despite his nervousness, that made William pause. "Son," William called out gently. "Are you lost? Do you need help finding your parents?" The boy looked up with eyes that held an unusual steadiness for someone so young. "No, sir," he said clearly. "I came to see you, Mr. Hartford. I came to claim my inheritance." William's first reaction was a soft chuckle of disbelief. "My inheritance?" William repeated, his smile, kind but puzzled. "I think there's been some confusion, young man. You don't have any children. Perhaps you have the wrong person." "No, sir," the boy insisted, his voice quiet but certain. "My grandmother said you're William Hartford. She said I should come here when she passed. Last Tuesday." The words hung in the air between them. Something in William's chest tightened. The boy's composure was remarkable, but underneath it William could see the fresh grief. The exhaustion of someone trying very hard to be brave. "That's your name, son?" "Marcus, sir. Marcus Thompson." Thompson. The name echoed somewhere in William's memory, but he couldn't quite place it. "And your grandmother was Rose Thompson. She worked for you, sir, a long time ago." Rose. The name brought memories flooding back. William's hand went to his chest as if to steady his heart. Rose had been his secretary 35 years ago when he was just starting out. A woman of grace and quiet strength who had helped him through those early, desperate years. She had left when her daughter got sick, and he had never seen her again, though he had often wondered what became of her. "Rose," he whispered. She passed?" Marcus nodded, his composure wavering just slightly. "Yes, sir. She raised me after my mama died. Used the two of us." William knelt down slowly, meeting the boy at eye level. "I'm so very sorry, Marcus," he said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. "Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, but I'm afraid I still don't understand about an inheritance." "He never left anything that she said you would understand when you saw this." Marcus interrupted gently, opening the old briefcase. Inside was a single envelope yellowed with age and William's own handwriting on the front, his breath caught in his throat. He remembered now. It had been a difficult time 40 years ago. He was 23, trying to start a business with nothing but dreams and determination. Rose had been his first employee, working for almost nothing because she believed in him. One day, frustrated and exhausted, he had said something he barely remembered saying, but Rose had remembered. William lifted the envelope with trembling hands and read his own words from decades past. "Dear Rose, I promise you this. If I ever make something of myself, if this crazy dream ever amounts to anything, I will make sure your family never wants for anything. You believed in me when no one else did. That kind of loyalty deserves loyalty in return. Consider this a promissory note, William." He had written it half in jest, half in earnest. On a day when success seemed impossible, and Rose had kept it all these years. Tears blurred William's vision. "She never asked for anything," William said softly, looking up at Marcus. "In all these years, she never came to me for help. She was proud," Marcus said simply. "But she wanted me to have a chance. She said, you were a good man, and good men keep their promises." Around them, the lobby had grown quiet. William's executive team had gathered, drawn by the unusual scene. His chief financial officer, David Morrison, stepped forward with concern etched on his weathered face. William, is everything all right? William stood slowly, one hand on Marcus' shoulder. David, please call an emergency board meeting. 30 minutos. Everyone needs to be there. The boardroom filled with curious executives and attorneys. William sat at the head of the massive mahogany table. Marcus in the chair beside him, still clutching that old briefcase. The board members exchanged glances, unsure what to make of the situation. William took his time, letting the moment settle. 35 years ago, he began, his voice carrying the weight of memory. A woman named Rose Thompson took a chance on a young man with big dreams and empty pockets. She worked for almost nothing. She believed in me when I barely believed in myself. He placed the old letter on the table. He made her a promise. He forgot about it over the years, buried it under success and busy schedules, but she never forgot. She never came to collect, never asked for anything. But before she died, she made sure her grandson would have what I promised. Margaret Chen, the company's lead attorney, picked up the letter carefully, reading it with growing understanding. William, this is legally binding. It's big, certainly, but your intent is clear. I know, William said. And I intend to honor it fully. Marcus sat very still, trying to understand. David leaned forward. What are you proposing? William had been thinking about this from the moment he saw the bow. About Rose who had given him her faith. About this child who had lost everything but still stood with dignity. About his own life so full of achievement and so empty of purpose. I'm proposing we establish a full trust for Marcus's education and care. William said college, graduate school if he wants it. A home, security, everything Rose should have asked for but never did. The board members nodded, their faces softening. And William continued, his voice growing stronger. I'm proposing something more. Marcus, you mentioned it's just you now, right? No other family. The boy nodded, something vulnerable finally showing through his brave facade. Then I'd like to offer you a home with me. William's voice was gentle but certain. If you're willing. I'm a widower, no children of my own. I have a big empty house that could use some life in it. And I think your grandmother might have wanted you to have more than just money. She wanted you to have family. Silence filled the room heavy with emotion. Marcus, eyes filled with tears he'd been holding back for days. You'd want me even though we're not related. Son, William said, his own voice thick. The best families are often the ones we choose. Your grandmother chose to believe in me 40 years ago. It changed my life. Maybe you and I can change each other's lives now. Young Marcus did something then that broke through every wall William had built. He got up from his chair and hugged William. That old briefcase falling forgotten to the floor, and he cried. Not the controlled careful tears of a boy trying to be strong, but the deep relieving sobs of a child who had finally found safety. William held him. This unexpected gift that had walked through his door on an ordinary Tuesday morning. And he cried too for Rose, who had believed in him for all the years he'd spent building an empire but not alive for the second chance he was being given. The board meeting ended with unanimous approval. David Morrison wiped his eyes unashamedly. Rose must have been quite a woman. She was, William agreed. She saw something in me I didn't see in myself. And now she's given me one last gift. Margaret Chen smiled, closing her briefcase. You know, William, in 40 years of corporate law, I've never seen an inheritance claim quite like this one. A debt paid not in obligation, but in love. That evening, William took Marcus home. The house that had felt like a mausoleum suddenly felt different with a child in it. Marcus was quiet, still processing everything. But there was a peace about him now, a sense of belonging. Over dinner, take out pizza because William realized he had no idea what 9-year-old boys like to eat. Marcus finally asked. Did you really forget about the promise? William thought about lying, about protecting his pride. But this boy deserved honesty. I did, he admitted. I got caught up in success and lost sight of what mattered. Your grandmother remembered for me. She kept that promise alive when I didn't. Marcus considered this thoughtfully. She kept lots of things alive, he said softly. Memories of my mom. Stories about when things were hard but people were kind. She said the world needs more people who remember to be kind. William felt something crack open in his chest. Some place that had been closed for too long. She was right. And I'm grateful she sent you to remind me. The weeks that followed brought changes neither expected. William learned to leave work at reasonable hours. Marcus learned to trust that this new home was real, was his. They navigated the awkwardness of becoming a family. Two people who had lost so much finding wholeness in each other. William attended school plays and learned about video games. Marcus learned about business and the importance of keeping promises. They talked about Rose often, keeping her memory alive between them. One night, 3 months later, Marcus appeared in William's study. Can I ask you something? The boy said hesitantly. Anything, son. Do you think would it be okay if I called you something other than Mr. Hartford? It feels too formal for someone I live with. William's heart, that organ he'd thought had grown cold with age and solitude, warmed with sudden hope. What would you like to call me? Marcus looked down at his feet, then back up with those steady, honest eyes. Would it be okay to call you Grandpa William? Grandma Rose used to talk about you like you were family. And now you kind of are. William had to clear his throat several times before he could speak. I think he managed finally. That would be more than okay. I think it would be an honor and I think your grandmother would approve. Marcus smiled. Really smiled. For the first time since William had met him. She would. She told me you had a good heart. She said, sometimes good hearts just need reminding. As Marcus returned to his homework, William sat in the quiet of his study. He thought about inheritance, about what we leave behind and what we carry forward. He had spent 40 years building a financial empire, creating wealth that would outlast him. But Rose had left something more valuable, a legacy of kindness, of faith in human goodness, of promises kept, even when they're forgotten. And she had given him the greatest inheritance of all, the chance to be a grandfather, to matter to someone, to build a family from the ruins of loneliness. The old briefcase sat on the shelf now beside photos of Rose that Marcus had brought. Sometimes William would look at it and marvel at how one child, one old promise, one moment of choice could change everything. He had laughed when Marcus first claimed his inheritance. He'd had no idea that the real inheritance wasn't something he was giving, but something he was receiving. Outside the evening settled into comfortable darkness. Inside there was light and laughter and the sound of a boy calling down the stairs. Grandpa William, can you help me with my math homework? And William, who had once commanded boardrooms and negotiated million-dollar deals, found the greatest joy of his life in climbing those stairs to help a 9-year-old with fractions. Rose had been right all those years ago to believe in him. And Marcus had been right to walk through those doors seeking what was promised. Some inheritances, after all, are measured not in money, but in love.